The Tyranids do not hate you. They do not fear you. They do not despise your empire. They are not threatened by your fleets. They do not seek to rule. They do not come to conquer. They do not recognize you as an enemy, and that is the first mistake. Because if you fight them as soldiers, you misunderstand them. If you hate them, you misunderstand them. If you think you can reason with them, you misunderstand them. They are not an army. They are not even a species in the conventional sense. They are something else, and in the 41st millennium, both the lore and the tabletop reveal the same truth. What you are facing is not a war. It is a process. A biological algorithm unfolding across the stars. A galactic metabolism that feeds, adapts, and moves on. They are here to consume, because you are not facing a rival civilization. You are facing digestion. Allow me to welcome you to my channel. This is Nemo Forever. You are listening to Cog Eternal, where myth is measured in blood and mathematics. What you are witnessing is not an invasion. It only appears that way from the outside, because an invasion implies intent, direction, a defined objective. The Tyranids do not arrive with any of these. They do not move toward victory. They do not pursue dominance. They move toward resolution. When a Tyranid fleet enters a system, it does not establish control. It begins a process. Atmospheres are stripped. Oceans are reduced. Continents are broken down into usable material. Nothing is occupied. Nothing is ruled. Everything is converted. And when that conversion is complete, they do not return. They move on. Not because they are finished, but because the system no longer contains anything worth processing. When a gaunt dies, nothing is lost. When a bioform is destroyed, no grief occurs. There is no absence. There is only reallocation. Imagine a body shedding a skin. Imagine a mind firing neurons. This is what Tyranid warfare resembles. There are no Tyranid heroes, no rebels, no philosophers, no culture, no art, no internal politics, no dissent. It is a function, a temporary biological tool. And behind all of it, there is something else. A single will, distributed across trillions upon trillions of organisms. Not a leader, not a council, a system. The Imperium calls it the Hive Mind, but that name implies something smaller than what it is. Because this is not command. It is coordination. Every battlefield is data. Every failed invasion is feedback. Every victory is biomass converted into future improvement. They do not rage. They do not despair. They adjust. The hive mind is not emotional. It is adaptive, and that makes it far more dangerous than hatred could ever be. Now, we translate myth into mechanism. On the tabletop, Tyranids revolve around synapse. Certain organisms project control fields. Within those fields, lesser creatures operate with precision. Outside of them, behavior destabilizes. This is not arbitrary game design, it is elegant narrative translation. Synapse creatures function as neural nodes. They are not commanders shouting orders. They are biological transmitters of will. A gaunt inside synapse range does not feel courage. It does not feel fear. It feels alignment. Outside of synapse, instinct returns, predatory, reactive, uncoordinated. This creates a battlefield dynamic unlike most armies. Other factions rely on morale as psychology. Tyranids rely on coherence as circuitry. When you remove synapse, the army does not shatter emotionally. It fragments neurologically. That distinction matters. Mechanically, this rewards positioning discipline, the protection of key organisms. It rewards layered formations, target priority awareness. You are not just moving units. You are maintaining a nervous system. The Tyranids are not strongest when scattered. They are strongest when networked. And when that network is intact, the army moves less like a military force and more like a single organism turning its attention towards prey. Look at the core organisms: termagants, hormagants, rippers. Individually unimpressive, low durability, limited offensive output, easily destroyed. And yet, that assessment misses the point entirely, because these organisms are not designed to survive. They are designed to exist long enough to screen, long enough to hold ground, long enough to absorb fire. Human armies train soldiers, they invest in them, they mourn them. Tyranids print organisms, they deploy them, they recycle them. On the tabletop, this manifests as bodies. Objectives flooded, board space denied, movement lanes clogged. Your opponent may destroy 20 models, 30, 40. The swarm does not break because those losses are not tragedies. They are transactions. Now contrast this with monstrous bioforms, massive organisms engineered for specific battlefield functions. Anti-armor, shock assault, synaptic relay. The Tyranid army is not homogeneous. It is layered. Small organisms establish control. Medium organisms apply pressure. Massive organisms deliver decisive force. Synapse binds the structure. The result is scalability. You are not fielding elite warriors. You are fielding metabolism. And metabolism does not duel. It overwhelms. In the lore, Tyranids evolve, not over centuries, over campaigns. A world resists with flamers. The next invasion wave shows resistance to flame. A fleet struggles against armored divisions. The next bioforms grow, heavier plating. It is not mythological exaggeration, it is narrative identity. The Tyranids do not preserve tradition. They do not cling to doctrine. They do not venerate relics. They optimize. Mechanically, this becomes detachment rules, adaptable enhancements, role specialization. Units designed not as personalities but as tools. The faction rewards flexibility. It rewards learning your opponent. It rewards recalibration. And here is the quiet, philosophical fracture. The Tyranid are innovation. The Imperium fears innovation. The Mechanicus preserves the past. The Hive Mind consumes the present to build a better future for itself. One stagnates to survive. The other evolves to dominate. On the tabletop, if you refuse to adapt with Tyranids, you lose. In lore, if a species refuses to adapt to Tyranids, it is consumed. The symmetry is deliberate and devastating. In the lore, the Tyranids project a psychic phenomenon known as the shadow in the warp. Astropaths falter, psychers collapse, warp communication fractures. It is not a scream, it is silence. A suffocating psychic pressure that drowns out everything else. Chaos howls. The Tyranids hush. The shadow is not aggression, it is negation. It does not overpower, it overwhelms by presence. On the tabletop, this translates into leadership, pressure, psychic disruption, battle shock, manipulation. Your opponent feels instability, disorientation, command structures falter. Again, myth becomes a mechanism. You are not casting spells, you are dimming the lights. The Hive Mind does not duel psychers. It renders them irrelevant. It does not need to dominate the warp. It only needs to make it unusable. The Imperium calls the Tyranids mindless, but there is nothing mindless about them. They do not negotiate because negotiation wastes energy. They do not gloat because pride has no caloric value. They do not celebrate victory because celebration does not generate biomass. They are brutally rational. On the tabletop, Tyranids reward calculated aggression, not reckless charges, not emotional plays. They reward synergy, positioning, synaptic integrity, objective control. They reward thinking in layers, in flows, in systems. The fracture is this. The Tyranids are more logical than most civilizations in the galaxy. Their morality is irrelevant. Their efficiency is undeniable. And in a universe defined by decaying empires and fractured faiths, efficiency may be the most terrifying force of all. So, what are the Tyranids in M41? In lore, a galactic scale organism, testing civilizations like antibodies. A hunger that does not sate, a will that does not waver. On the tabletop, a networked army, built on synergy, scalability, and pressure. You are not commanding personalities. You are managing appetite. You are not deploying heroes, you are extending a nervous system. You are not fighting wars, you are accelerating metabolism. They are not here to dominate politically. They are here to harvest. Every consumed world is growth. Every converted ocean is fuel. Every extinction is improvement. Growth is the only doctrine they follow. The Tyranids do not fight wars. They process ecosystems. And in a galaxy built on stagnation, they are what comes next. Thank you for listening. Cog Eternal can be found on YouTube and Rumble. If this transmission was worthy of your time, allow it to endure. Leave your reflections below, and subscribe should you wish to walk further into the 41st millennium. The numbers do not lie.